Carolyn and Justin on here are our IT folks, so are we recording? I think we are.
Yep, should be
Okay.
recording.
All right, turn it over to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. I guess first thing we'll do introductions. I'm John Sanford from Stanford. I'll go around this way, I guess.
Brian Simonson, Deputy Executive Officer for the Department of Livestock.
Raina Blackman, Craig, Montana.
Mike Honeycutt, Executive Officer, Department of Livestock.
Leslie Doley, Program Manager for the Livestock Loss Board. Lindsay Simon, Attorney for the Department of Livestock and the Board.
Joe Kip, member of the board.
And I guess those on Zoom. Introduce yourselves, please.
You might want to call their names,
Oh,
because sometimes they can't tell what order they're in.
okay, who else? Trina? You're on there?
Oh, Doreen Gillespie, member of the board.
Okay, sorry. And Jordan? Is Jordan on?
Jordan Mannix, livestock producer, Helmville.
Okay. Now, Trina.
Hi, Trina Joe Bradley, Bradley Ranch, Alaire.
So who else on?
I think everybody else is a Department of Livestock employee.
So they need to introduce themselves or?
No.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Unless there's
Rayleigh
somebody else.
Honeycutt Rayleigh Honeycutt, Montana Stock Growers is on as well.
Okay. Okay,
Sorry, Rayleigh.
thank you. Is that it then? Anybody else on there that I didn't see?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Then we'll go on to approval of the minutes in the May 12th meeting. Everybody get a chance to look at them?
Butch?
I continue.
You can continue. My apologies.
Okay. Guess we need a motion to approve the minutes. Is
Doreen Gillespie, so approved.
there a second?
I will second. Joe Kip.
Okay. Goes. Doreen moved and Joe seconded to approve the minutes. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
There. Is that enough? Did Jordan respond to that?
I didn't, sorry, I
Okay,
lost.
okay, motion carried. Okay. We'll go on to item 3. Budget claim status update.
So tab 1 of your packets, if you have a packet in front of you, this is just my sort of standard statistics updated July 1st. So the first half of the calendar year, everything on this one is by date of depredation. So there were enough claims on here to make a map for 2026 now that we've gotten a few. We're up to 43 claims for the year so far. And there's just the breakouts there by predator and county, and then on the next page you go into by date of depredation. I haven't received any 2025 claims for a couple months now. It's all been for 2026 lately. And then Brian has the budget.
There you go. Sorry, I'm still catching up. We're gonna go to tab 2 with the budget report. And I'll be working down essentially the last column F to just highlight a few things. This is the June 29th budget report, meaning that we're at the time of this creation a couple weeks ago, we were still closing out the year, which is June 30th. And so this isn't exactly final, but it is 99.9%. These are the numbers. I don't think we'll see any changes to them. We had a budget for personnel of $52,575. We spent everything, but if you look at the far right column, 10,234% of that, which is so 19% of our personnel budget was unspent for the year. In operations, we had a budget of 42,802, column or row 13, of which $29,798 was left at the end of the year. So we only spent 30% of our operations budget that's allotted to us through the legislature. Claims money, we had an original budget of 211,000. We had original claims budget of 150,000. We moved half of the salary or 61,000 into the claims because of the reduction from one full FTE to a half an FTE. We spent 212,000. So we spent all of it. You can see in the prior year we'd spent all of the 150,000. We spent a little bit more. You can see we overspent that by 1.6, but it all blends together for a total at the bottom of general fund of a total budget of 306,377 with 38,411 remaining, or 12.5% of the budget. Just for educational purposes, this is all general fund dollars, and so whatever is unspent will revert back to the treasury at this time of year. So we'll start with a fresh general fund budget next year of again something similar with some inflationary adjustments of something similar though to that $306,000. The second half of the page is the statutory appropriations that the Livestock Loss Board has. So we have two. We have if you go down to row 27, the depredation reduction grant. That's the money that we're giving out as grant money. Also part of the grant money is the 95,103 above that. That's what the board decided to transfer to Wildlife Services last year. And so that's for a total of 491,514 out of that fund that we spent in this last fiscal year. The second group is the depredation remediations, row 30. There's $88,062 is what we spent out of our total $300,000 budget. So we have $211,938 in that remaining from that allocation. And that's my budget report here. From there, this board needs to make a motion and approve at this time of the year what we're submitting to Wildlife Services. The statute reads that we have to submit 50% of our budget of the remaining of this claims dollars. We have to submit that to grant funding, and then of the remainder, or at least 50%, you could submit all of it to grant funding. Of the remainder 50%, the board can, if it needed to, could put 10% aside for administrative purposes, but you can see from the budget above that we don't need that 10% to fulfill the budget unless there's something extraordinary happened. But we can take care of that in the current year. So I would say the total amount of funds are available at the board's discretion. I'm gonna add to the number though, even though it says 211,938, there are a couple of factors that go into play to make that number bigger. We had some unspent federal authority from prior years that added to that figure. The 61,000 that we moved from personnel to claims also adds to the figure that's left over for money available. And then of course we had all of this funds that were unspent in our short-term investment portfolio. So we're earning interest on that. So the total number for the board, I'm sorry, gotta find it here, is $282,938. $439.71. That is what is in the coffers above and beyond the 300,000 that we got for an allocation. That's in the reserve and then an allocation for this year. So
So they have close to over 500,000.
actually, the
Just
number,
making sure.
the total number is $882,439.71. 300,000 of that is a reserve that we can keep at the end of the year. 300,000 of it is the new money that we got this year, July 1st. And then what's above that 600,000 is what we have to move into grants or wildlife services. That number to move is $282,439.71. 50% of it, the statute says has to go to grant, at least 50% has to go to grant funding. That number is $141,219.85. So the board's discretion is what to do with the other half of that. Do you want more of it to go to grant funding? Do you want it to go to wildlife services? That's essentially your two options.
Okay. 144,000.
141,219. Let's just say that.
Okay,
And 85 cents.
Yes.
And our choices are wildlife service or back into grants, the grant pool. Correct?
Of that, yes, sir.
and last year we gave wildlife services
95.
90.
For 95,000.
You, that's correct. You also, that was 50%. That was the maximum you could give them.
So in 2025, we gave them 95,000. Is anyone on board from wildlife service?
It doesn't sound like it.
No.
Well, if they're not in attendance, then I would say we should just keep what we gave them last year.
Well, but I
They might be
wanted to,
happy.
we keep coming out to your place, right?
I keep finding those big tracks with no,
But anyway, how much have we increased grants payout basically since you've been on? Just a guesstimate over, I mean, cause we've had a couple more cycles.
I don't know if the amount has increased. I don't know what the previous totals have been, so it's, I'd have to go back and look at.
So-
those totals.
So Evan's note here, which is accurate, for last year. So we could tell you last year, they spent $275,695 or essentially $25,000 more this year in claims than last year.
Okay, claims means kills.
yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry.
If I said claims, I meant grants.
This is just my thought here. I mean, what if we gave wildlife services the same we gave them last year, like? Joe
95.
suggested, and then the remainder going to grant funding, if the grant funding is increased this past year anyway.
That's what I meant. How much has grant funding increased? Just a
So
ballpark
if
figure.
you, on the page 4 there,
Okay.
just for last year, you can see that this year we spent $396,411
Well,
on grants.
Where's 396?
Okay, I'm on
I
row
see,
27.
okay, I have 397. So.
Yeah.
I'm on the correct row. Okay.
Yeah, the budget, it kind of ignored the budget number, but what
Okay.
we actually spent was $396,411.
Okay,
Last year, we spent only $126,730. And I would say the year before that, it was something very similar to that. It was just over 100,000.
but we're trying harder.
Well, that's fully evidenced by how much we did spend last year.
I think we need to put more into grant funding, so.
Especially if. I don't remember the fellow who did the haulers.
Oh,
That was a really expensive
the which,
grant. I don't know, was it by Townsend? They put colors on the cab.
oh, yeah,
They wanted colors on everything, but they put them on the cabs.
yeah.
There'll probably be more of that.
Just to see how it works.
So-
Before we give any more.
Maybe I'll just keep trying to add some nuggets here. if we spent 396,411 last year, this year, if you only gave half of the money to grants, the total available for this year would be 352,000. So about 40 some thousand less than what we spent last year. Yeah. Yeah, we
Okay.
spent nearly 400,000 last year. We have about 350,000 this year. So if you put more into it, we would get back up to that 400. We could get back up to what we at least spent last year.
This is Doreen. I'd like to just see it 50-50 because I think wildlife services is very important along with grants. And I think let's give half to wildlife and half to grants.
So that would be roughly 70,000 each way.
No, it's 282,000 total, so it's 141,000 each way.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I thought we
Each
only had.
way? Yeah, I thought we were dividing 141 by two.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Okay.
Anybody agree? Jordan, you got anything to say about that?
Well, if you gave, the 95,000 that Joe suggested earlier to wildlife services, maybe I was understanding like you guys, that leaves, about 50,000 over, right? For the 141 number.
Yes, sir.
And you could put that back into the grant pool. I guess that's where I was initially leaning, but I'm okay with the 50-50 as well, I suppose.
Just to make sure I understand, we could 50-50 means 141 goes to one and 141 goes to the other.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct, yeah.
And if you did that, that would be a total of 352,000 for grants next year or this year.
For this upcoming year. And this year we did
400,000.
we actually paid out 400,000
Yes.
and we're giving ourselves how much for the upcoming year?
I mean, the initial lump of money from statute is 100,000. There was leftover from the end of the year, 110,000. So that made 210,000. If you put 141,000 in, you get to a total of 352,000. So that's the 50-50 split scenario.
But that's still short of what we,
Up 50,000,
yeah,
about,
yeah.
roughly.
I mean, myself personally, I really think we should leave as much in grant funding as we
At least the same.
have it in the past, because I think it's gonna get more, Leslie, she's doing a lot of things to get the word out, and eventually people are gonna.
Is there a hiccup down the road if we adopt that?
The point I was gonna make is remember that you were sort of catching up from several years of not getting grant funding out the door, so. Last year was not a normal year in terms of grant funding. Normally, if you were expending it every year on cycle, what you would have in a typical year to provide for grants would be $100,000 plus 50% of the leftover or more of the leftover funds from the claims of the previous year. And some years, if you have enough claims, you just spend all your claims money in that year, you would have no money to move over, and it would just be 100,000.
And that was only 3 years ago that was the case.
Yeah, and that would tell you that's what a normal on-cycle year for grants looks like. Although I applaud, I think giving out grant funding for mitigation is a good thing, and I know the folks who depend on that would agree with that. But last year should not be looked at, I guess, as a normal situation. It was a catching up from a couple of years of not getting money out the door the way we would have liked to.
But something like that could still happen in the future too.
True. Depends on what I think if you stay on cycle with your grants, the driving factor would be is if there are years where you don't have a lot of grant requests, then you would have money left over.
Yeah.
But I would think we're on cycle now with making sure we do grant funding cycles, trying to do grant funding cycles throughout the year with the intent of trying to get that money out the door every year versus maybe taking a year off and not having a year where we don't give grants. But it could be that you have a year that you don't have a lot of applicants and then you have money to carry over to the next year because you just didn't have the projects to spend it on. But like I said, the last year was a catch-up year. It's not normal that we would have $400,000 to put towards grants. Of course, we would, if you go with your 50-50 split, you would still have quite a bit of money for grants in the next year. But if you ever got fully on cycle, you would have 100,000 plus the leftover, whatever that might be from a given year. So that would probably never be more could never be more than 250 in a year.
I would think not.
Yeah. But that would be what it would look like if we were on cycle. But we haven't been on cycle for the last 2 years, at least.
So, can I make a question? Have you been in contact with Wildlife Service about their budgetary needs or anybody else in the department? Have Wildlife Service expressed to you, hey, we're having a heck of a time, or we're doing good, or?
I'm sure they're always needing money.
Well, I know that, but have they expressed it?
Actually, they don't. Advocating for that isn't usually Dalen's forte, so he has been. Whatever, his attitude is we'll take whatever you'll give us.
Yeah.
And were they invited to this?
This meeting was gonna be pretty small and we were trying to keep it short. And so I did not invite them to this just because I was trying to keep things concise.
And I know that they'll always take what we give. But I'm kind of leaning towards, making I'll make the motion and we'll see how it goes. With Joe Kip makes a motion that we fund Wildlife Service $95,000 as we did in 2025 to Wildlife Service. And that we sent, the other 50% plus the $46,219.85 will go towards the grant.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
Jordan Manick seconds that motion.
Okay, and moved and seconded. Any discussion, any more discussion on that?
Read back the motion. Could you
The
read
motion?
back?
Essentially, what I have written down in my thoughts is, Joe Kip made a motion to transfer 95,000 to Wildlife Services and the remainder to grants.
Basically, yeah.
Which comes out to 187. Is that?
Yep.
What you got roughly?
Is 95,000 typical?
That was typical for last year.
I know it was last year, but
And I remember one year it was 75 grand, but
And those would be the only 2 years that it was really something substantial. Years prior to that.
Yeah.
You didn't have, you got the $150,000 infusion at that time that it was 75,000. And so that's when the amount of money that we had for claims went up. And so prior to that, we were spending all 250,000 for the most part. So they were very small amounts, less than $20,000 going to Wildlife Services.
I know what the 95,000, I mean, Dalen expresses whenever you see him, he says, thank you, we really appreciate it. But, so I think that's probably more than fair. And I don't know if I'm supposed to comment on a motion, but.
I just honestly believe that for $46,000, Wildlife Service needs to make a request.
Yeah.
I have not heard from any of them.
How many have heard from many of the grant people then? Besides just putting in for a grant?
I haven't.
I just
Neither
hear
have I.
from Mr. Peoples. But it's not about livestock
No.
or nothing. He just calls, I don't know. I'm his uncle, I guess.
Okay, any more discussion on this? All those in favor of Joe's motion, signify by saying aye.
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 I,
I abstain.
Okay, motion carried with Doreen abstaining.
so would this mean like next year, if we found ourselves in the same situation, maybe we give wildlife services more because we underspent on grants is,
I mean, I don't think we have to,
We can only give 50% of what
Oh.
the pool is.
okay,
I mean, technically, you could give that 46,000 later in the year if you so chose to.
Mhm.
I mean, you can give up to the 141,000. It's just that typically we do it at the beginning of the year, the vote to do that, and then we transfer that money so they can budget and have that money. So
okay.
that's their grant cycle or their cycle for the livestock. For
'Cause
the
I
state of
know their
Montana.
fiscal year is different than yours.
Yeah, we're gonna run off of what our available funds runs off our fiscal year, so July 1st is the time frame.
Yeah, I'll more specifically, because I deal with the other cooperative agreements we have. Well, Brian does with all of them, but we have lots of cooperative agreements for wildlife services from different pots of money.
Yes,
You need to, what you're doing right now is you're establishing a base figure off which to tell wildlife services, this is how much you're gonna receive, because they have to put together a work plan and run that through get our signature on it, run it through the federal cycle to get that money put into their budget, so that when they receive the funds, there's somewhere to apply it. But there is methods for doing addendums, to those, work plans and cooperative agreements during the year. So if at some point you decided, looks like you're not gonna have enough grants and the board wanted to revisit and say, let's go back and see if we should give more money to wildlife services, you can do that. We would just have to, again, give them a figure for which they could do a work plan and work it through the federal system to get the budget authority put into their budget to match with the actual cash funds that are coming in. So a lot of this is about the budgeting mumbo jumbo, I would say, about we have to give them a number so they can tell the federal government they're, budgeting people what that number is gonna be, and then get all the paperwork they need set up to get that in their budget so they can actually receive the funds. So that, you're not locked in today if you wanted to give more later. That is totally up to the board's discretion. If you felt like later in the year, you wanted to up that. And I mean, I would say at this point, to Mr. Kip's other comment, what staff has to track is that number, additional number could not exceed 46,000, whatever that would be equal to the 50% of the rollover.
Right.
They can track that.
And I'm sure their budget, with fuel prices and everything else, just like everybody else, I'm sure their budget is stretched, but just the way it is. I mean, I guess you plan for it. Hopefully you can plan for it.
And I would agree to all that, but I really think that, they don't necessarily need to talk to us on the board, but they need to talk to Leslie, or somebody needs to be in communication, because we do this every year. And if Leslie came here and said they're in dire straits, they need every penny they can get, but that is between those two individuals, not us. And she didn't present hers or anybody else for livestock.
I want to reiterate a point that Brian made earlier, though, that's an important point. I would not lay that all at the feet of wildlife services staff, because as federal employees, they are prohibited from lobbying. And it could be seen coming in here and saying, give us more money, as lobbying and as a violation of their ethics standards that they have as federal employees. So I'm always very careful about what I ask them, because I don't want to put them in that position. But certainly if there are shortfalls that are happening out there, if it's not, if wildlife services can't say that, then I would say, going out of this meeting today, whether it's wool growers or individual producers or other people who need to come and say, wildlife services needs more funding because they're not servicing my needs as a producer, and you have the ability to send them more money, you should send them more money. So that might be more likely where you would hear that advocacy come from, would be from producers on behalf of Wildlife Services, not directly from Wildlife Services, because I do believe they're very restricted in what they can actually ask for from a government board like this.
We have a wool growers at the Ram Show, we always have a director meeting, and he's always at that, so I'm sure we'll hear about it then, you know.
Yeah.
In another 6 weeks or whatever, you know, so. Okay,
Yeah, I know they're pretty careful about how they word things, but I remember when we last went down in Big Timber. Craig and Dalen were both there, and I just point blank asked them how much they wanted or needed. And it was very clear. They didn't go into detail, but they had done their math.
yeah, well, then the Department of Livestock gave him another 100,000 here last
Last year we did.
year. And hopefully the legislature, you know.
Is that mandated?
So the Board of Livestock has a statutory appropriation for Department of Livestock that we have to provide a minimum of $350,000 of the per capita fee that's collected each year to USDA Wildlife Services for coyote control. Coyote and red fox is what that's all focused on, is all coyote in reality. But the board in past years have chosen to provide more. So like last year, the minimum is 350, but they chose to give 575,000 through that cooperative. In addition to that, there's the Wolf Mitigation Fund is another, when I say we have multiple agreements, so the Wolf Mitigation Fund was established in 2019. Those funds are just for wolf management. They come through voluntary donations made by hunters and fishermen and people getting conservation licenses through FWP. You can voluntarily check a box and pay more money for the Wolf Mitigation Fund. That gathers historically, since it started in 2019, $100,000 to $150,000 a year. But that is earmarked, and that work plan, because that's what state law requires. Our work plan with the federal government says all those funds have to be spent towards wolf management activities, not on coyotes, not on grizzly bears, not on depredations, but specifically on wolf management work. But that's another source of funds to Wildlife Services that's coming through the Department of Livestock.
Okay, thank you. I guess, after we move on to old business, that's it.
Mr. Chair, Brian Simonson, Deputy Executive Officer, I'm gonna give a little synopsis of where we are at with the legislative update. We took 3 proposals to the governor's executive office, and one of those being to add donkeys and alpacas, and that was accepted by the governor's office. So that's moving forward to economic affairs in August to add those to the list of eligible species. The second one was to add eagles to the predator list, and that was accepted by the governor's office. And so that is also moving forward as legislation to the economic affairs next month. The last one was guard dog injury compensation, and that was rejected by the governor's office. And so that one is no longer supported by the executive branch. So we won't be pushing that forward as a department and vis-a-vis as a board.
Okay,
That doesn't mean private citizens who have that interest can contact their legislator and do what they want to do.
Did they give a reason?
They did not actually, but there was some conversation about mission expansion and no appetite for that.
Okay.
and what exactly were we asking about guard dogs compensation for?
A veterinary up to $500,000, or what the board determined for veterinary injuries.
500.
So we're-
500, just 500.
I'm sorry, I'm in 6-figure mode, I'm sorry.
Yeah, because it was 500. Did we ask for more?
No,
We don't pay it for vet injuries, we only
Vet
pay for
injuries.
confirmed, yeah,
Yeah.
and
you know, since a replacement dog, we pay up to 500, I thought that 500 seemed like a reasonable number to try to save a dog that you know works.
I think Brian said, I mean, what we gathered from the conversation we had is that the difference there, because they were okay with the expansion of species, with regards to confirmed kills, whether we're expanding the predator or the prey list. I think it was walking into the world of beginning to pay for injuries was the
Yeah.
slippery slope that they were concerned about, because next that could be, as opposed to just paying for confirmed kills, it could be paying for injuries on everything, and that eventually could snowball, because we all are aware of lots of instances where there are injuries to livestock, from predators, but they don't actually die, but eventually, you know, that's probably what happens, but, so I think they were just concerned about how that could snowball if you started paying for injuries versus confirmed kills. That's what I think made it different.
I mean, with dogs, I mean, you go to a small animal vet, you can already do a lot of money, with depending on what they do. Okay,
Mr. Chair, barring any questions on that's the legislative, agenda for the Livestock Loss Board that was put forward. Additionally, we had one, executive, new proposal, that went forward that the board voted on with $100,000 transfer to Wildlife Services. We met some objections to, well, essentially any new general fund. But technically, it's still in the system and it hasn't been denied yet, so it is still moving forward in the system. But we're pretty pessimistic that in the final budget come January, that it still may not be in there, so we'll have to keep the board updated on that.
As we expressed, and I think we got that firmly, even on all of the requests from all of the Department of Livestock, because we were also requesting, for example, an increase to reimbursement rates for the designated surveillance area, the folks who raise cattle there and get reimbursed for the additional brucellosis testing and challenges that go with that. And we've provided reimbursements, but we had not increased the rates in a number of years, so we were asking for more budget there, and that's also a general fund item. And we were asking for more funds to be able to increase those reimbursement rates, since we haven't done it in several years. And that's in the same limbo this is. It's like it wasn't denied, but they're still chewing on it. So I think we firmly got what we expected, was anywhere where we're asking for new general fund. That's just the executive branch is playing it very conservative headed into this session about new spending of general taxpayer dollars. So as Brian said, it's not denied, but we'll see when the governor rolls out his budget in November to the legislature. I guess that's when we'll know for sure whether it's there or not, so.
that it for your report?
That is, sir.
Okay, anybody got any questions on any of that? Okay. Move on to new business. Item 1. I guess did everybody read that letter?
So we're in tab 3, and this just came out Monday, I believe, to the board members. But it's in tab 3 if we have a book. And I believe Shalice is on. I saw her name earlier. Yes, Shalice is on.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Thank you for allowing us to be on the agenda today, and thank you for your work on this board. My name is Shalice Harrison. I'm a 5th-generation farmer from Northwest Wyoming, but I'm also the policy manager for the Western Landowners Alliance. We're a West-wide landowner-founded and landowner-led organization. We work to sustain working lands, connected landscapes, and native species. I'm here today on behalf of the Montana producers and producer groups who have signed the letter before you in support of establishing a unit multiplier for depredation compensation. But before I jump into the discussion, I just want to provide some context and background about our work in Montana. We have a long history in the state. Cole Mannix, a former employee with our organization, helped shape much of our approach to really reducing human-wildlife conflict and ensuring people stay on the landscape. Eric Kauska also works for the organization. He's a producer in Big Hole Valley. when we bring forth ideas or letters like this, they come directly from the producer community, and I'm simply here to convey those concerns and potential solutions. And, we understand that funding a program like this would be really challenging right now in the upcoming legislative session. Through lots of conversations, we recognize that now might not be the political moment to advance such an initiative, but we wanted to share some ideas that have been circulating amongst us. And some of that really stems, before we work to fund a unit multiplier, we need a better understanding of what that multiplier should be. Fortunately, there's been a strong research from Montana already to build on. A 2014 paper by Ramler et al. Found that, for ranches experiencing confirmed depredations by wolves, the indirect costs from reduced weight gain exceeded the direct losses from livestock killed by predators. So, that research, along with input from producers and agencies, researchers, the public, could really help us determine a unit multiplier that best fits the needs of Montana. And a rulemaking process could help identify that appropriate multiplier. And we wanted to see if the Livestock Loss Board could play a role in maybe leading that effort, because you all would, of course, govern that compensation multiplier. And from Wyoming, I know that we have a well-funded compensation program. It functions entirely on license dollars. And in Montana, you know, it's not really clear if they could raise adequate funds through hunting license dollars to pay for a compensation program like Wyoming, partly because their license fees are already kind of high or comparable. And it might be worth thinking about a study to outline and compare revenue expenditures from Wyoming to Montana. In the legislative body, of course, that too would cost money, but maybe it could be a broader study that would look at different mechanisms for a program. Also in Wyoming, the Game and Fish is entirely responsible for the payouts, and that is, of course, different. So that's a possible solution. And we're also curious whether the Livestock Loss Board would consider distributing any remaining funds at the end of the year among claimants from that year. And finally, just want to let you all know that once a multiplier or multipliers are established, ideally through rulemaking by the Livestock Loss Board, we and others would be willing to support the board in identifying funding opportunities, grants, fundraising efforts. um, we would be happy to help with that. Ultimately, we want to ensure the right framework is in place so producers can remain in business and on the landscape. And I'd like to now pass it to my this other signatories that might be on. Did I miss anything, Trina or Callie, or anything to add?
Hi, I'm Trina Jo Bradley. I am the chair of the Montana Conflict Reduction Consortium, and within that group, we have been talking a lot about establishing a multiplier in the state of Montana, but the last couple of weeks, we've spent a lot of time exploring funding resources to help with that multiplier, and we're still in the process, but we're working on it. And you can see we quickly got some names signed to this letter. If we had had more time, we probably would have gotten a lot more producers signed up, I'm assuming. Well, I know we would. So within the Montana Conflict Reduction Consortium, we've had several conversations with producers, and everyone is supportive of a multiplier because it is needed in the state of Montana. I also want to note that although Montana Farm Bureau and Montana Stock Growers Association did not sign on to the letter, they both have policies supporting a multiplier. And I think you hit everything else. Callie, do you have anything to add?
No, I think I think you covered it. The Montana Wool Growers policy is that multiplier should only be paid out if all claims have already been paid. So this would be using excess funding for the multiplier at the end of the year after all of the original claims have been paid at cost.
Hey, anybody else? Anybody here have comments? Okay, if not, I guess, thank you. And then I mean, as far as we're concerned, I don't know, the funding isn't there, so. I guess members of your organization are free to go to the legislature probably and try to find some money.
Yeah. No, I guess I think it's a little bit preemptive because it needs a fiscal note. And you know what sort of money we would be asking for, how much is a big question. And not something that I want to do or figure out with just a few people. It really needs to be a bigger process with lots of public input and from agencies too. And I'm just curious if you all see yourselves, potentially leading a role like that. You know, you have the authority to create a multiplier, and you can have an unfunded mandate. You could have it on the books and not have it be funded. But what do you all think it should be, or do you have any ideas about how you'd go about that?
I got a question. How much does Wyoming pay out in multipliers?
I do know that information. It differs for each species and for e- certain areas. And let me pull that up in just one moment. And I'm happy to share my screen because I, work in this field. Just give me just a second. One moment. Just off the top of my head, it's 7-1 for sheep and calves and wolf areas for gray wolves. And I want to be very accurate, so just give me a second. Is it okay if I share my screen? There we go. So, in grizzly areas, it's 2-1 for yearlings, 3.5-1 for sheep and calves, and 1-1 for all other livestock. And that's on private and public lands. And then in everywhere else where there's not grizzlies, so bears, mountain lions, 3-1 for sheep, 1-1 for all other livestock. So in the gray wolf area, which is kind of around Yellowstone, 7-1 for sheep and calves, 2-1 for yearlings, 1-1 for all other livestock. And where you can shoot a wolf, sort of outside of that, it's 1-1 for all livestock. And the veterinary costs are covered for livestock. And I do believe dogs are included in that as well. The real difference here is that in Wyoming, our Game and Fish funds this program, and it's entirely paid for by licensed dollars. And they work really closely with producers to do that. It's not a different agency, but that's what it is in Wyoming. And I'm not sure if that fits for Montana. I'm not sure if, you could run some numbers from this and throw it out there and see what people think.
I would have to have a hard copy,
Yeah, me too.
just what you
I would,
shared.
I was more curious about how much money you pay out for these.
Well, let me scroll down.
Jake?
This isn't from 2022. I can get you some updated numbers. This is just when I made this particular fact sheet, but
Well,
um
2.8 million.
but that's for all claim damage. Also by ungulates too. So to break it down by species, let me see if I have that also. And I'd be happy to share this with you. It certainly changes and um
But by ungulate damage, you mean elk damage and whatever to crops
yeah.
and
Yeah,
sensors. Whatever.
that's for everything. Let me share this graph. Of course, this is just a snapshot of um so this top one um is this isn't very helpful. Sorry. I don't have a good updated graph, but I can tell you that it's it's not as much as you might think. It is
2.8 million sounds like a lot, though.
well, it is less than the damage claims from elk often. But I can tell you that depredations from grizzly bears have been rising in the upper green. And when the bears started to really recover and in some of those areas, Wyoming worked pretty hard in the 90s to establish some of this, and the unit multipliers have only improved. But, as producers were experiencing 2% loss, 5% loss. It was like they were okay, they were okay. But as soon as those got up to like 10% or 14% without compensation, many of those guys would not have hung on. And the compensation multiplier program in Wyoming in these areas where there are predators and those predators aren't going anywhere, it has been the determining factor for them to remain in business over these 15 years. And I will be happy to get you some final numbers from the Game and Fish, as well as my fact sheet on what we pay out. And then maybe you can then make an estimate based off of current claims. I've also been told that not everybody with claims seeks reimbursement, and I'm curious to know why. Maybe the one-to-one is not enough. But you might expect it to change if there was a multiplier as well. That might incentivize people to do that.
Wyoming doesn't have a livestock loss board, do they?
We have a predator control boards, and they do different stuff. And
So do they have a livestock loss board or just the predator control?
I think just the predator control.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Hey, Mike had a comment.
Yeah, so if, I was just gonna answer Ms. Harrison's earlier administrative question that I think we kind of left dangling about fiscal notes and how that works here. Montana, I think Callie and Trina probably, this will be information they already know, but so if a bill is proposed of any sort, and it's related to a program attached to or within the Department of Livestock, which Livestock Loss Board is, it would be Brian primarily who would get that request from the legislature for a fiscal note. And obviously he'd reach out to any and all partners he could to get as much research to get that fiscal note to be as accurate as possible.
In 24 hours.
Within 24 hours, yeah, they don't give him a whole lot of time. He gets 24 hours from the time of the bill. And then the legislator has the option to reject that fiscal note if they think that the agency has not, has made the bill too high. But again, that's what leads, I think, as you said, Ms. Harrison, to your unfunded mandate sometimes, because if a legislator doesn't like the fiscal note, thinks it's too high, and they reject it and nothing gets put in the budget, then you have the legal mandate without the funding. But how that carries forward is a bill that has a fiscal note. Probably the same in Wyoming, it would go through both policy and appropriations before heading to a floor. So you would need approval from both, the policy committee that has oversight, which in this case could be in Montana, either a natural resources committee or the ag committee, depending on which way the leadership decided to send the bill. They have that discretion, but I've seen them go both ways. But not only would that committee have to approve the bill, but then it would go to the House and its appropriations bill. They all have to start on the House. So then it would go through the House appropriations for their approval to be placed into the budget. So that's kind of how those things work in Montana, just explaining that, which may be exactly how they work in Wyoming, not quite sure. But I think the big answer to your question is that it would actually be Brian, person sitting here today, who'd be the one responsible to the legislature to get those figures together and provide them as accurate a fiscal note to score the bill as he possibly could. So that's how we do it.
Thanks. Okay, anybody else?
I personally would like to see the hard copy. Just so that we could do some estimating what it might cost.
Yeah, we need more information before we can
Yeah.
move forward with it, I think.
I totally agree.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
this is Joe Kip, and I believe that the Livestock Loss Board did, get approval for a multiplier already. There's just no funding in it.
Exactly.
And, I know we never created a policy of, well, we'll pay 3-to-1 or whatever, or how we'd like it funded. But so back to your request for us to establish a depredation compensation multiplier, we've got it already passed. So what are you really asking us to do?
Well, the multiplier hasn't been defined. And I don't want to define it. I think that would be tough. There's a dozen or so groups and producers we're talking to and a few more, but I would really want the age, you all to set that and have some sort of input process where you're figuring that out and hearing from your people. You could just do 2-to-1 to start. I don't know. It's not really for us to decide. That's really for the state to decide, or and I guess, we would be willing to help fundraise money for the Livestock Loss Board too. And if you wanted to think through ways to do that, as well. But before we fundraise, it's really hard to say what we're asking for. And I don't know what that fiscal number is. And I see Callie has her hand up. Maybe you can help me out, Callie.
Sure, I was actually going to say I think what Shalias is asking for is for the Livestock Loss Board to propose some regulations that lay out what this would look like if it was funded. And that's fairly common among the agencies, I think, to prepare the regulations before they're able to go into effect. So the framework is there, and then it would be up to us to try and figure out where that money is going to come from. Obviously, we would have to restructure agencies if the funding was going to come in through FWP. That would require a bigger restructuring, but if the regulations were in place, it would give us an opportunity to look at what the cost would be, how much money we're going to need, where we can put it through. And another comment that Shalias had brought up that may be something that could be done during the 2027 legislative session, I don't know much about the process, so I could be wrong, is a study bill to look into what options are available for funding, and we could get into more details on that later, but that would be another opportunity.
So before a multiplier is applied, something has to die? Or can you just say, I saw a pack of wolves go through, I want compensation?
No, you would have to have at least one confirmed or probable loss before you would qualify. multiply.
Okay.
Well, I want to clarify, it depends on how you write the regulations.
Right.
So if the regulations are similar to Wyoming, then the multiplier is only if there's a confirmed loss, or depending on how you wrote the regulations, confirmed or probable. But a different way of looking at it would be more in the way of habitat leasing, which is if you have the predator on your land, then there's compensation based on that presence. But that's a different framework than a multiplier.
Okay, any more? We got some other stuff we have to move on to, I think here, so.
Well, go ahead.
I just want to make sure I have the right direction from you all before we close this conversation. It sounds like you need information from me on Wyoming depredation payments, the actual money maybe from the last 10 years or something for these programs, and then also the legislate or the regulation language, and then I can break that down in the fact sheet. Is that what you all need from me? Or and do you need anything else?
Everything you got, man,
Everything, yeah.
everything from everybody. If anybody's got even an opinion, I would like to see it. This is a beautiful letter. We've already started it. If we just need help, we need help making a decision about establishing the framework. So we can have a study bill next. So help us.
I guess I got another question. When this first started, who came up with the like 7-1 or 2-1? How was that determined? Who determined that?
In Wyoming, that I believe we just did an increase for yearlings. It was 2-1, now it's 2.5-1. And that it's largely funded and from research by the Game and Fish in these areas. Um, and it works out really nice because they have these studies, they're well funded, they work with producers on the ground, and then they present that research to their own Game and Fish Commission, and that commission is in charge and tasked with establishing a multiplier. The Game and Fish Commission has public comment like, hey, we are going to increase the unit multiplier from X to X, and here's what we propose. They get a lot of feedback, they take that into consideration, they make a final vote, and it becomes part of their regulations. So I don't know if the Livestock Loss Board has ever done public comment on something like I would be curious if you have, and maybe you could just ask people, and then I would do my due diligence to work with the stakeholders and producers that we know and bring forth information and ideas to help you. Um, yeah, have you ever solicited public comment before on something that's part of your regulatory rules?
Yes, we have.
Yeah, that might be the first step.
Okay, anybody else? I think we're good for now until we get some more information.
Yep, we'll start working on it right after you get done baling hay.
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you. Hey, if we move on, anybody need a short, quick break, or should we just go? Hopefully this wouldn't take too long. Okay,
Great.
we'll go. The new business, or second item 2.
The rest of our discussion today centers around claim valuations. So we have 2 different claims that were a little bit ambiguous for me to try and put valuations on. And so after we get done with these, we're gonna talk a little bit about maybe trying to make some things more consistent in the way that we do that. The first one, and I think Ron, I saw him driving his tractor, Ron was on. So Ronald Crossguns had a mini Highlander bull that was killed by a grizzly bear. And so I was a little unsure how to do the valuation on that. It's not very clear in the procedures that we have. And so I just wanted to kind of clarify that I'm both following the statute and the board's intent and how I'm doing all of these.
Did it have registration papers?
As far as I know, no.
Okay.
So what I would do with any other breed is I would go to the USDA's weekly livestock auction summary, which is a compilation of all of the livestock sales for that week in Montana. So it's a comparable sale for Montana livestock. And I would go to the appropriate section on there, depending on the age, breed, sex, whatever, or not breed so much, but the age and sex and weight. There's not a lot of 4-year-old 800-pound bulls on the sheets, so that's where it gets a little bit unclear. If you want to just leave it very cut and dry and go with the weight and sex that's on here, I do have an AMS listing. The bulls in this section range from 87 pounds, so brand new baby, up to about 1,280 pounds. So there are some 800-pound averages that I could make with some 6-weight and 8-weight bull calves or bulls. That's the closest comparable sale that I can find. So I'm just trying to make sure that we're being consistent with these.
So if you use those figures, what kind of a compensation are you coming up with? For an 800-pound bull?
Oops, sorry, my calculator disappeared on me. So we're gonna be right around 2580
2580.
per.
Yep.
Is that for steer calves are you going on, or is it for bull calves?
This is bulls. So there's the bull section that ranges from 87 to 1,200 pounds. So those are gonna be your younger stock. And then the kill bulls, those range from about 1,500 to 2,500 pounds. So I'm not gonna find anything in that section, right? Those are your slaughter bulls. These are gonna be, the only weight I'm gonna find for 800 pounds is gonna be in the young bulls.
Yep.
Most
That's
bulls
fine.
that go through the livestock market are slaughter bulls, very rarely do, unless it's a special sale.
Right, exactly.
Let's see.
I mean, the lightweight stuff obviously is gonna go on feed somewhere before it goes, but. So again, this is just the question around these kind of oddball breeds that don't necessarily get represented in market sales. What do we do with the dwarf breeds, those kinds of things? So that's kind of what the source of this, bringing this to the board, because I need to figure out how to do
Yeah,
this.
this one definitely is very difficult, because usually if a bull calf goes through the ring, he's docked, because then they've got to castrate him and then he's going to lose weight. So it's real difficult to figure out what this calf or this bull would be worth, because you sure don't want to. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he's a 4-year-old. He's not but he's
Correct.
he's a mini.
Yeah, these small animals. Yeah, this is really kind of a difficult one, because this is an unusual animal.
When you were, Doreen, did you ever deal with ostrich or emu?
No, not that I can remember.
Okay.
Usually we always go with sale barn price, and like, of course, our meeting, we said that anything that was registered, we'd give double, but this is a first for me to have a miniature Highlander. I didn't even know they existed. I know of low lines and all that, but this is a first for me.
I think since there's no precedence, I think we just have to go with what Leslie found.
Just
800
weight and sex.
by weight and sex. I mean, that's my opinion anyway.
It's the only way to be consistent that I know of, because I don't know how else to do a valuation.
Yeah.
And the statute's pretty tight.
Was this animal killed then?
Correct, yes, grizzly bear killed it.
Okay, how do we know it weighed 800 pounds?
So the producer, when they fill out a reimbursement application, they put an estimated weight at time of death.
That's kind of an unusual thing to do, because we like proof on everything. And so that one there bothers me too, because I don't know what the animal looked like or what kind of pasture land, you know, I mean, there's quite a variety of, if a working bull's out there, I don't know, I'm clueless about this. So giving a weight to me for a Highlander bull that's killed is, that's another one that's brand new to me also.
So interestingly, the statutes do not mention weight at all, but we historically have paid based on the weight of the animal that's reported on the claim form. That's the existing practice.
Yeah.
From what I've talked to friends who raise Highlanders, 700 to 800 pounds is typical for a mature bull.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
That's
good to know.
I was looking at Glenn Hall's report here and I don't see anything about weight.
No, they
And
don't put a lot of animal information on their
Mhm.
paperwork.
yeah, that'd be up to the producer to,
Yep, it's self-reported by the producer.
and I do want to, when I was fiddling with my phone, I looked this up. That mini Highlanders are not usually papered because
Really?
there is no official miniature Highland breed. Is in not a distinct officially recognized purebred breed.
Yeah.
Mainstream Cattle Association registered standard Highland bulls can be rival lineage.
So they're like ponies and stuff. If they're 40 inches and taller, they're horses, and if they're 40 inches,
Yeah, if they don't indicate that an animal is registered, I don't ask if it's registered. I
No.
just proceed as a commercial animal. That's.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
So what is the producer asking?
well, it's not the producer, it's me who's asking
Okay.
how much to value this at, or what procedure you want me to follow. I mean, you don't have to pick a number today, but I need to know how the board wants me to handle these oddball or breeds that aren't represented in, I shouldn't say oddball, sorry, breeds that are not represented in the market report.
I think they just have to treat it like any other animal. I mean, the way it is now.
and I think
Yeah.
that's the board's responsibility is that we make a motion here today that you follow existing protocol.
We're gonna have discussion on this later, aren't we?
Correct.
Down.
Yeah,
the end
and
here.
in the last page of your packet, there is
Let's
the
wait.
statutes that define fair market value.
Let's wait till we have that
So,
discussion before we.
yeah.
do anything.
Oh, I see. We'll discuss all of that and then.
Yeah, we're gonna go through that.
I mean,
but
look-
just,
I mean, just looking, 2580 seems like pretty fair compensation to me. For. something
and that
like
might not be the exact number, but
Yeah.
that was roughly, I have to go through and make sure I got the averages correct on the leases.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I
I
know
don't know what else we can do.
George mentioned when he was recruiting me that what a board member did, and one of them was make decisions just like we're making here. And in this case, it was pack llamas and they wanted, let's say 5,000 a llama. I don't remember how maybe grizzly bear got them in the mountains. I don't know. But the board determined that a good pack horse was only worth 2, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did that
Yeah,
come to mind,
I-
Joe? Were you-
Mhm.
That,
were you there
that
for
comes to
one?
my memory. I remember that now.
So I just think we're just doing our job if we say maintain status quo.
Yeah.
So, when Wildlife Services does their investigation, do they put in their report that the thing been laying there for a while? I mean, do they say how fresh the kill was, or do they do any of that?
So if you read, I mean, they're not gonna confirm it.
Yeah.
Right, you know, so it's usually pretty clear based on the report that,
Okay.
if it's confirmed or probable, then they're confident that it is actually killed by whatever
Yeah.
predator they selected. And they do put, the date that complaint is received and the date that they went out there on their form, and then the producer puts the date of depredation
Oh, okay,
on their form.
okay.
And usually those dates are the same day, if
Okay.
not, within a day or two,
Okay.
typically.
Guess I should have read it closer. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so. Is that clear as mud for you?
Yes.
And Ron is no longer with us?
He is.
And I don't know that he wanted to participate in the conversation, he was just.
He's unmuted, he
listening.
unmuted himself.
Oh,
I'd like to hear from him if you've got
Did
something
you-
to say.
Did you have something to add, Ron? There you go. No?
Must have hung up on us.
He did.
Okay.
I think he just wanted to listen in, he didn't necessarily have any comments, he just wanted to listen to hear how.
Okay, he's coming back.
Oh.
Go ahead.
You're on mute, Ron, if you wanted to say something.
Oh, can't hear.
You're still on mute. I see his lips moving.
Yeah. Can you unmute him?
Yeah.
I think you can.
He's gotta do it at his end.
You have to do it. I can mute him, but I can't unmute him, I don't think.
Or you can just ask them over on the right, just like those.
Oh, let's see.
Oh, maybe you can.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
What was going on now? I lost everything.
Here.
He's on this one up here. Okay, Ron, we were just opening up the floor for you to make any comments that you wanted to before we moved on to the next situation.
What was your guys' determination on it? I mean, what are you guys at? Because I did use the bull on my heifers. He was just a young guy. And we kept him close, but when you guys said he was he a confirmed kill and how long he was laying, he wasn't laying very long because it happened the night before and I called the Fish and Game the very next morning.
You need to call Wildlife Services. Fish and Game can't help you.
Well, they the ones that called Glenn Hall, and he's the one that came out and looked at the kill.
Okay.
They're the ones that contact Glenn Hall and let him know. We don't have a number for Glenn Hall. But I reported the deal. You guys were asking if he was laying for how long he was laying, and they found him. He was killed the night before, and I reported him right away because I keep him right by my house.
Okay.
Is Glenn Hall, is he Wildlife Services? I know the name,
Yes.
but I'm,
Yeah,
He
he's the
is-
bear man
yeah.
for up this
Okay.
area.
okay, you bet.
So well, Leslie, do you wanna tell we just determined that we're just going by what's
Market
laid
price?
down in our statute to pay on that weight. And a bull of that weight, that's about all we have to go by.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, at this point, I think we're delaying a motion until we look at the policy
Yeah, we're not-
and determine if there's a change there to be made.
Okay,
All right. I just wanted to let you guys know it wasn't a kill that was laying there. It was a fresh kill. You guys make it sound like I didn't report it till late. So I didn't.
okay,
I reported it right away.
okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay. Next one. Number 3.
Go ahead and go to the
All
next
right,
one.
next one, so this is Rosebud River Farm Tyrell Schaff or Schaff, I'm not sure. This one. I think he had 12 sheep, and actually there's one additional claim that came in a little bit later for the same time period. These are, 3 of them were registered Suffolks, 9 of them were not registered. My understanding is that they had kind of recently gotten into this and paid quite a lot of money for a lot of these sheep. And so I wanted to clarify exactly what my existing practice should be on these, because As far as I understand it, the practice is to use the Miles City Ram and use sale. And for use, you take the overall sale average for you prices. It's not broken out by breed, you just take the overall average for the whole sale. And that's what we pay for use. If it's a registered animal, you pay double. That was my interpretation. Same thing for rams. It's the overall sale average. And if they're registered, it's double. I want to make sure that that is the board's intent because I could not find, I went back through a lot of meeting recordings and minutes to try and find that discussion and couldn't really get it pinned down exactly to make that determination. So,
Leslie,
yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, but have we ever paid, has predecessors ever paid double the ram and use sale price?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Okay.
And I looked
I
and
don't think we got double that time the Mountain Lion got into.
For a registered one?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we were
So-
very happy with the Miles City average and
yeah.
I don't think we got
Actually,
double.
I mean, I was thinking after we talked this morning, or if you use a Miles City average, that's probably to the advantage of the claimant, because that average is probably gonna be a little better than Hayes or somebody else.
Well, I'll admit, when
I,
last
this is
round
Dor-
went
go ahead.
missing, please let it be alone and please let it be alone.
Go ahead, Doreen.
I called a sheep producer that wasn't involved here because I thought that'd be a good idea. He said the average price right now for ewes is $400. If they're registered, you just double it.
Where did he get his numbers?
From the, like what he sold in the market. He has quite a few sheep.
You mean it pays?
Livestock market.
He sold it pays though.
He didn't tell me which livestock market and I didn't ask because I didn't want to be involved that way. I just said, what was your average for your sheep? And he said, for ewes, it was $400. And he said, then if they're registered, because I said it was double, he said, yeah, then it'd be 8. But that's
That was
the
probably the
information I got.
That was probably the last Miles City sale, I would say. That's,
Okay. It might have been, yeah.
because they're not bringing that kind of money at Hayes. I mean, for Cody, you know, for plain old use.
Mm.
You know, and another thing, like, every ram that goes through the Miles City sale is not registered. Every,
That too.
you know, because they only get registered if the buyer wants them. If it can be registered, then the buyer has to request that. And then it's registered, but not every ram that goes through there is registered. So just a little information.
Yeah, thank you for that.
So I think the way Leslie interpreted it, it's just, you gotta go by.
So you would say to double the Miles City sale price for registered animals?
Probably.
Is that
I'd say
everyone
so.
else's
I'd say so.
interpretation? Okay.
I mean, we've never, registered some of those sheep, so I don't know. You know, but, I mean, if that's what the statute says, or that's what it says here, to pay double for registered, I guess that's, we kinda have to go. by
It doesn't really say that. It says for cattle, it does.
You know, it does some, it does.
It
say
says for
something.
other registered livestock, twice the average value of commercial breed animals with the same breed agencies.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
number 7. Okay, and if that's the answer, that's great. I just wanted to make sure that I was interpreting it the way that the board had intended. And that's,
Okay,
So-
is,
I don't think we got paid double. And they were all registered ewes and the Lions.
When was this?
About 10 years ago.
Okay, it was different then. I think this was, this stuff here was put into place at the big timber meeting. Which I forget when that was, 24?
About
July?
It was my very first meeting.
Right, yeah, that's where I met you. I think we talked about these prices, we set them then.
And I saw, this is Doreen, I only saw 3 registrations on this, so they have to be
Correct.
proof of registration.
correct. There's only 3 registered animals, then
Correct.
9 of them were great. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did they have to do with the DNA?
I don't think that matters. We have to see the papers that they're registered.
As long as they got a registration, that's all they need.
Correct.
Yes.
I mean, he was trying to go above and beyond to prove some additional things, but
I mean, when I have a dead one and the tag is missing, it's process of elimination.
You go by Tyler.
Who?
That's my people.
That's why I was surprised that he DNA'd.
Me too. I was a little surprised he went to that expense. I really thought that.
There's Tyrell or Tim on. Would they like to comment, have a question and ask questions?
Yeah, I can add any content there if you'd like me to. If I'm
Go ahead,
coming
Tom.
through. Yeah.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Yeah, thanks for I guess reviewing this again today. But the reason for the additional expense, I mean, we've got some gene pools there that are, within the top 3 to 5% of the NSIP ranking, and I just wanted to make sure which ones I had. I made a mistake when I first bought those. I didn't double ear tag all of them, and so there was a little bit of cleanup work on my end, and wanted to make sure that the ones that we did, had loss on, that were accounted for, because of the prices that we're working on. And you talked about, at least in my opinion, and I know it's my thought process of the stock that we have, and everybody's has their own on that, but we do have, at least a third of our flock are registered, and they're within the top 90% of the NSIP, coming out of those with my replacement ewes, with the Carcass Plus rating. And these breeding stock that we're providing back to the industry from Montana to Idaho and Wyoming, those producers are coming off of the grass 2 to 3 weeks early on weaning weights. And, in times like this where it's dry and we're helping the industry get that lamb crop to market sooner. And I just feel like, we're into something where we're trying to help the industry out, and the value of these animals are proving themselves. And it is a big risk. And the previous conversation on the multiplier, I mean, the other day I was driving up the road and the lion was just sitting there, laying on the road, flapping his tail back and forth. And so they're definitely there. The bears are there. We got, denied on the last grant proposal. And so I went out and I bought 3 LGDs, and we're trying that, and we're still working through to see if that'll be successful or not. So trying to put as much as I can into time and making these things successful, and appreciate, this program and your guys' time to help us on the flip side of that, to help the livestock live in concert with these predators.
Okay. Thank you for the comments.
Yep.
I mean, yeah. So, I mean, we're just, kind of up to what we're mandated by the legislature to. Hey.
Yeah, and
Okay.
we have to follow the rules that we made, and it's like Holden's, they can wipe us out with one bull. So it's good that we've kind of made these rules that then there would be money left over. But I think it's sad when we're losing these animals, because let's hope that we can move some of the predators into where we can control them a little more. But yeah, I think that what we've decided here should stand as far as payment.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Appreciate you guys' time.
Thank you. Okay, is that good enough?
A cow is killed. You go to the USDA. She weighed 1,400. Doesn't matter how old she is.
it does matter how old. So the way I've been doing cows specifically, I try to find a stock cow price in their weight. Because they're breeding animals, they're not kill cows that you're taking as a whole, right? So there's usually a representative sale
Yep.
on an open stock cow. And that's typically where I go for those.
Okay.
Again, my interpretation, just wanna make sure that's
Well,
what.
that's fair. 'Cause
I mean, yeah,
if I were in your shoes, I would have just 1,400 pounds, $1.98. Okay, here you go.
Lewistown, I mean, none of these other livestock auctions do it, but like, they'll list every animal, almost probably 95% of the animals sold. And tell why. I think Kyle was getting so many people complaining about, oh, well, how come this cow brought this much? Well, he's putting down the reason. On every animal, like lame, lump, whatever, he puts. Why. Those lower selling ones, why they are down, why they're down at the bottom. So it's, none of the other ones do that. So he doesn't say, oh, age or anything like that, but like lump, whatever. He even had some in there short tails one time. I mean, so. Okay, is that all on that then? Is that all you need on that?
so, well, and then, so yeah, the last thing is
Yeah,
the
yeah.
procedures, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
What page is that?
It's in the last tab 5. So, yeah, I put the last page of this, I did include, like I said, the statutes for fair market value, just to give us our kind of sideboards for what we have to fall into with this. The first page is just kind of standard, it's all stuff that we know. As it is right now, I'll just kind of mention things that are not in statute, but things that we've done in practice. So obviously only killed animals are eligible for reimbursement, but sometimes an injured animal dies, a few days or however long after it was injured. And so currently the existing practice is if Wildlife Services will reissue that investigation to say that animal is dead, then I have paid out the claim. I don't know if there should be a time limit on how long after it was injured that it died, or if we should just say if Wildlife Services is willing to say it's.
Yeah.
Right, and that's kind of how I thought was the simplest way to do it, is if they'll reissue the report. Because that's what we need in statute to be able to do the claim. If anybody has any issue with that, let me know.
And sometimes you just can't figure every situation.
No.
Differently, that's a thing.
Okay. And then I think, the next page. We already talked about registered animals. It's all in statute, very clear. It's just twice the value. And they have to submit their papers. The next bullet, the second bullet on that page is contracts. And yeah,
Or do you want to go through everything and then?
no, go ahead. Let's go through it as we go through it.
Okay. Do you want to put Miles City Ram sale?
I am gonna add that language actually,
I don't know if you want to limit yourself to one option. And check
Yeah, the site she's going to is the USDA weekly report from Montana.
Yeah,
but I mean, for ewes and rams, I do use the Miles City Ram sale.
Right.
So,
I don't know if I'd list it specifically. I mean, it doesn't hurt to compare. I mean, because that's usually going to be, that'll be, if you do that, that's the advantage of the person making the claim, because those prices are.
oh, to look at both.
Well, I don't know, just to kind of.
The difficulty with using the USDA document is that there aren't breeding animal sales very often. It's once or twice a year typically.
True.
And so,
They may not list all that, what you're saying.
Pretty general.
the payment is based on the date of death of the animal.
Mhm.
Except for Miles City Ram and Ewe sale, it's just effective for the 12 months following the sale. You use that same number for that 12-month period. But if I'm trying to do the USDA document, I'm gonna have to hunt for the most recent bred or a replacement ewe sale. And that gets a little, because then you're gonna be going back through lots of sales.
Yeah.
Which in Montana's the bred you sale in January, right?
There is one.
That was in March. They're having a replacement ewe sale in August.
They have one, that's more of a ram sale.
is it wrong?
And then the bread use sale is usually toward the end of January.
Yeah, but again,
I looked it up, February 9th was
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah.
Cause I was looking at it while you guys were discussing it, what the prices were at that, so.
okay,
I think it's up to your discretion, I mean, check with, I mean.
well, it's, no, I want it to be one or the other.
But on page 3, you
Yeah,
are
so I don't
referencing
think
it.
The species specifically, and for sheep more than 1 year of age. It's
Oh.
the Miles City revenue sale
Okay,
right now.
okay,
And the board has gone back and forth before, depending on what the market was, but typically the revenue sales a little higher.
Yeah.
That's what they've gone with.
okay.
As a representation of breeding animals, the hay stuff has a tendency to be stuff that's going to slaughter or going on feed or slaughter, so that's why I think that was the logic in that,
Okay.
so.
Okay.
Similar topic that is not in this document, pregnant animals. We have inconsistently in the past paid for animals at bred prices. And my interpretation was that you can't prove it was bred, and so we paid, replacement female prices, but not bred animal prices. But that's not always been the case in the past. Anything that goes through a livestock market obviously is vet checked within a day of that sale, so they're confirmed.
Probably before they sell, I mean, they're selling a bread out.
Right, yeah, they've checked once they get on premises, they're vet checked.
Yeah.
typically.
So when do you pray?
When? I mean, we can get it back until October usually. But cows lose calves, I mean,
Well, they do, it's just something that's killed in July. Yeah, the bull was out with her. I think is pushing it.
yeah, you can.
Yeah, in July would be pushing it.
Yeah, things killed in October after vet check.
Yeah,
I could.
Yeah, if they could prove that it was, vetted
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
pregnant, then I think we ought to pay the extra.
chances are it's gonna be, I mean, you're gonna have a small percentage that aren't, but it's. But even a livestock auction, I mean, you can break test cows 1 week, and if you take them into
Yeah.
town with red cows the next week, they retest them anyway.
Mhm.
They will not take them.
No, yeah.
unless
This
they
is
test.
Doreen. We're kind of moving into what Honeycutt said too, about the veterinary expenses. This could roll into, this is another one of those things that could roll into some cows killed and we pay one that we don't know is not bred. This kind of is a can of worms I don't think we want to open. That's just my opinion, because that's where I'm at.
You're right, I think it's just a cow.
So, yeah. in order to
I
stick with-
think, like
Yeah.
Doreen said, I mean,
I just wanna be consistent, so you tell me how it needs to go, and I'll do it.
it's a
Just,
cow,
make it a cow. I agree with our chairman.
commercial price, I guess, whatever. I mean, we could nitpick on this stuff all day.
I know, we're not gonna get into too much detail, I hope, but I wanted to get
I
a
know.
few of these basic things hit so that I can have this document started.
Yeah.
And then we'll hopefully review it on an annual basis and make sure that everything still fits.
Yeah.
So,
I would agree with Doreen on that. I think we call them a cow, a bull.
Yeah.
Calf, of course, it's a fall sale price. I think that's very generous. The only thing is with registered, we got double. We gotta make it simple.
yep,
Yeah.
okay,
That's good.
So do you want a motion on the Spence bull now?
Why don't we go through the whole thing here?
We haven't told you what to do with that bull. You asked
No.
it for advice and.
She just wants to know whether she's following.
just following the.
Procedure
ACA market
already.
report for it.
I think
Yeah,
you're
even
following
though
the
it's
best
still
you
unbreed.
can.
Basically, I'm not considering a breed that may not be representative, I'm just taking the age and sex and using that to make the determination.
Yeah.
So, okay, the next item is contracts for sale. The existing practice, is to honor contract prices for calves, whether or not the calf was under contract when it died. Just want to make sure that, I don't know where or when that came about. And I just want to verify that that's what you guys think should be happening.
Okay, calf was killed in July. The guy submits his claim. Calves get contracted in August.
Wording, period.
Is this what you're asking?
No,
Is he coming
so
back and
that
asking
would
for
be
more?
honored. I'm saying if the calf was killed in April and he
Like-
contracts his calves in July,
Let's see.
and then he submits his claim in August.
I don't think it's meat process.
What's our rule now on how much time they got? Until February?
Correct. Or the other scenario is the calves were contracted in July, the calf got killed in August, and he submits his claim in September. You have either one of those scenarios, both of those currently would be honored at face value of the weight and price that's on the contract.
That almost sounds like a multiplier to me. I think that if the calf is killed when it's young, like, you know, a lot of people sell young calves in the sale barn. If we need to do that, let's go there.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, April, if a calf's killed in April, you can't base it on what they might have contracted for in July.
Well,
Yeah.
we've always paid on, like a newborn calf is killed, whatever date, May 1st. And if I sell my calves on October 20th, and I can say it's a 550-pound average steer calf, but that's what I get paid for, right?
So the existing practice would be if your calf was killed May first and you know that you're gonna average 550 on your steer calves
Mhm.
when you sell them in the fall. I would find a May 1st
Yeah.
date for 550
For
weight
that
calf,
calf.
and that's what you would get.
Right.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
And so that is, I think that's very generous, and I think we ought to stay with that because we all know baby calves were worth what, $800?
Yeah.
Or more.
Or more, but I didn't lose an $800 calf. I lost a $3,000
Yeah.
calf.
And that's actually in statute that you
Yeah.
pay on the weaning weight, not.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So that's in there.
That's fine. The
I agree
question
with
is-
Joe there. Yeah, I think that's probably right.
It's just more about the contracts and I just wanted to verify that that's what the board wants to be happening and whether or not it matters if the calf died before it was under contract or if it just, it's part of that calf crop, so it goes with that contract. That's the question.
I think the intent we had was if it got killed and I had a contract in hand, this is what the real market of that, the value of that animal is.
Yeah.
And if I could show that when I submit my claim, and it is before the death of the cow, then follow the contract price, minus your 2% commission
And your drink.
and your shrink.
We're really helping you out.
The shrink had not been going in.
An administration fee too.
Yeah.
Okay, but if the calf is killed before the contract, are we honoring the contract?
That's,
I think.
I believe so.
no, the calf is killed before the contract, no.
Okay.
Oh, before they were sold.
If they were
Oh,
contracted
before.
the calf was killed, then you honor the contract, because it was a contracted calf.
That's true.
Go ahead, Doreen, sorry.
No, you're fine. I had to say something to Butch out there, so then I came in not speaking before I really knew what was going on, so I apologize.
Well, I'm good with what Joe said because not everyone contracts.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They
Oh, right.
haul them in.
Most of the claims I do aren't contracts, but there's a handful that.
Right,
consistently
yeah.
do. Okay.
I mean, we gotta establish they should, what I don't understand is they're getting something. And they're complaining it isn't enough, and it could have just been compost on the prairie, and you got nothing. This is the whole concept I don't
Just the way of the
understand
world.
about
You want to-
everything you're just.
But I want more. We have to have a limit.
Exactly.
Yeah, if I could interject, I would just say from administering government programs for a number of years, I would say that you want to make things as clear and as consistent as possible and stick to that as closely as you can, with the caveat that there's always a process for something that is one-off or different. There is the ability for the producer to appeal that decision. And then while this board sits here, one of the duties it has is then to consider those things and see if that is truly an exception to the rule or not. Most people wouldn't do that. Most people will accept what they're given, but if they think for some reason that the clear, consistent process doesn't apply to their animal, they have the right to appeal that decision made by Leslie to you. And then you get to consider those individual factors. And just because you make that decision in one case doesn't mean you have to make it in all cases. You consider each one as an individual case. But I guess I would just say, and that's probably what Leslie's looking for, is to try and make this process as simple and straightforward and as mathematical as possible. And for those outliers, if they want to appeal her decision, they have a right to appeal her decision.
So let me get this straight. You're asking for our opinion at this moment. You'll rewrite it and at some point in time we'll vote on it.
Correct.
Okay.
My intent with this is that once a year, I'll send it out, everybody will have a chance to review it, and then we can say, I think maybe this needs to change, or this needs to be updated because of X, Y, Z, or everything looks good, and then we update it once a year, and it's still valid. So based on some of our other discussion, I'm wondering if the next bullet, proof of recent purchase, may be used as a valuation source in cases where there's not a good representative sale. I'm wondering if I need to strike that,
I would say yes.
right?
I agree.
If we do that, I think we probably need to get something out there that, it doesn't, we're no longer gonna look at purchase price as, compensation guides.
I mean, we could have asked Mr. Crossguns what he paid for that bull.
I believe he told me it was a gift, so I don't know
Okay.
if that's known.
But if we go right back to the last one, to the sheep thing.
Yeah, there was purchase prices on it.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
But I know those minis are 10 to 30.
Yeah, they're a lot of money.
But you're right, Joe, we need to, it needs to be something put in there in the
Yeah.
next application.
And I'll tell you why, because the 4-H kids back home, they're going to buy these $250 pigs or $2,500 pigs.
Yeah.
And a $2,500 pigs bring to the champion circles. Okay, so if we do this, I mean, we're well above the double price.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
So that, but I do think it would only be fair that we let those kids know, or everybody in the state know that whatever, if you wanna go out and buy a $20,000 horse, a weanling, and it gets chewed up, we're only gonna pay this much money.
Yeah, and we'll get to horses here in a
I,
minute. so.
I don't see them down here, that's why I throw it at you.
If I can add in, I'm sorry I'm jumping in, but, I would say that when I talk about clear and consistent, what you guys was somebody, if you're going to consider purchase prices, I think someone has to have some reasonable documentation that you're talking about the purchase price of the animal that was killed. And I'll say that because where that meanders is when you talk about registered bulls, for example. I can talk to a producer who will say, well, at our sale, they range from 5 to 30. Well, was the bull that killed gonna be a 5 bull? or 30?
Yeah.
Now, the producer is gonna say it was gonna be a 30. It was gonna be at the top end of the sale, but we don't know that, right? And so so you have to, so when you're talking about the purchase prices, that would be my recommendation, saying within reasonable certainty, you're never gonna be, but are you providing me what the purchase price of that animal that I lost was versus, well, this is the last one time I purchased animals and this was the bill, so that's what you paid me. It's like, well, but is that bill representative of what you paid for the animal that was depredated upon? And so if you say, I buy these animals in the spring and the bill's from the spring, okay, probably the animal you lost was part of that purchase, and that's within reasonable certainty. We would go and accept that information, but don't just bring me a document from 5 years ago, because that's the only one you can find, and say, well, this is what I think, because we know, it's agriculture in general, but we have one of the few commodities that will be worth less today than it was 5 years ago. But that's where you have to, so that's where I say, when you're clear and consistent, like try to match it up as much as you can, and because because, you know, obviously it can get very, very nuanced and variable, and I think that's what puts her in a difficult position, is the more variables she has to consider in that situation, you know, the more difficult it makes for her to determine a valuation.
Yeah.
I agree. This is Doreen again. It's just like, you got to go with the average of whatever the sale was. If somebody buys a pig that wasn't even in a sale and has a huge price on it, we can't really value that as if the rest of the litter would go for that. You know, it's like Holden's when they sell a bull. This is the reason we kind of went with a certain price, because they've sold bulls as high as 250 to 300,000. Well, that'd wipe us out pretty darn quick. So we have to have, like Mike said, a standard, you know, of a certain sale. That's kind of my opinion. You know, if somebody buys a bull for $20,000, but the average sale for the bulls were $5,000, we can't give him $20,000. Am I wrong here, or did I stepped in here just kind of listening to the end of Mike's conversation, but is that where we're at? We want to pay them for what they paid for the animal?
Go ahead. Well, according to this, it says.
Well, I think the intent was not to use recent purchase prices, right? We're sticking with the very simple, straightforward, using the market reports.
Yeah.
Good, yeah, okay.
There's one exception at the end, but I'll get into that in a minute, so.
It seems like you're kind of addressing the exception in this sentence too.
Yeah.
Cause it's for things that aren't.
The next bullet. The program manager may request that one.
Well, no, in cases where representative market sales are not available or applicable.
That's true.
The bull,
Yeah.
you've got a market for a bull.
You do, and you also got a market for hogs, but you don't have a market for show hogs. Okay, now this is what I wanna say. Let it strike that out. And rewrite all this, so we are baseline set. And we're not gonna have any really high prices. But then we need to get that out for public comment and people to know that this is what we're doing.
So, right, and part of this was hopefully making it more transparent for people so they can see exactly what the process is, right? It should be transparent. So.
And I firmly believe that if I go out and buy my kid a $5,000 wheeling pig. And bring it to grizzly bear country. And it gets chewed up, you know. I need to know that, hey, I get $300.
Sure.
That's it.
Yep.
This is an insurance policy, but not a repayment
A
policy.
lot of these bull breeders anymore, I mean, a lot of them have a first year.
Yeah.
No
But
matter
the
what
pigs
happens.
don't.
I know, but I'm just saying these bulls.
The pigs ought to come up with something like that. 'Cause
Yeah.
We've never lost any pigs or nothing, or lambs. Damn it, I was wishing they'd kill all my lambs.
There was a pig in Lewistown last week that brought $41,000.
Oh, shoot.
And it's just a plain old pig they bought, you know, for probably 50, 60 bucks.
A
Two,
hoodrite pig or something, huh?
yeah, two companies got in the bidding war and the thing brought, yeah, $41,000 for a 300-pound pig.
Big things happening.
Yeah,
A
Okay,
bad
so,
report.
my advice, strike it.
so if you strike that, and then the next bullet is that I can request board input to help value livestock where I've done research and I can't determine the value, right? That's kind of your catch-all.
Okay, yep.
If we can't figure it out, then we have one catch-all. I think we've kind of gone through cattle. I don't need to go through that because we've kind of discussed how all of that works. Same with sheep. If they're lambs, they're gonna go through the market report, the USDA report. If they're ewes and rams, they're gonna go through the ram and ewe sale. Goats, same thing. They're just going through the USDA market report. They're pretty straightforward to value. And they even actually denote on there if they're dwarf or Nigerian dwarf breed or pygmy breeds, they actually denote that on there, so I can actually differentiate those, so. For horses, currently we use, an appraiser through BLS. And I just did one of those last week for a filly that was killed. And so I send some information to her, she comes up with a valuation. Sometimes they request a little more information and she'll look at registration papers and pictures and all the things that are factors in value. Then that's how those are done currently.
Do we have a cap on them?
And so if we'd like to put a cap, this would be a great place to put a cap.
We had one.
Okay, well, I don't know where that is, so let's put it in here.
Before my time.
Do you
Big
remember
timber. I'm sure it's in those minutes.
in the big timber minutes? Okay, do you remember what year that was?
Well,
Yeah, it was back there.
how, how many years have I been on the board?
23, 24.
That's been my first year.
Your first meeting?
Yeah.
I think that's where we did it. And I think we come up
Only 2
with,
years ago.
yeah, it wasn't long ago. I think we came up with a grade horse.
Oh, I don't remember any of this.
You don't?
I was just shell shocked because I had read the stuff you approved and I did not read the stuff that you flunked, and boy, it was a surprise to me that we discussed it all.
Does Doreen remember? Would Doreen have been there?
She was the chairperson.
You sure that wasn't Shoto?
It might have been.
I think it was Shoto, cause I'd come to that meeting, you and Bill were the ones doing the pass fail thing on the grants.
Yeah, but Big Timber was my very first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was before. Yeah, pass fail on the grants was at,
Oh,
just
okay.
recently. Now, we did policy on the horses. We had like a grade horse, no matter if you're roping it off it or what. It was a certain amount, and I'm gonna say $3,000 for a broke grade horse, no matter what, a cap.
So just a $3,000 cap for a grade horse. Was
Grade
there
horse.
a different cap for a registered horse?
Yeah, I think we put, Doreen, are you with us?
I am.
Was it 5,000 for a registered cap for horses? And that was only if, Billings Livestock Horse Commission said the valuation was more than that, we just had a cap. Or
I
was it
believe
less
so,
than
and
that?
that was on that Colt.
Yeah. I think it was 3,000 to 5,000. Now that's open for discussion. What do you guys think?
Well, I know they got prices for loose horses versus trained horses.
Well, she's sending all the information into the,
If we're doing double on registered cattle and sheep, do we wanna go?
Well.
I'm sorry, I gotta.
Go ahead. You just wanna leave it?
So my interpretation would be that if you have an appraiser, they're interpreting all of the factors in that value, including whether or not it's registered. So I don't know that we need to worry about double versus. But you could put a different cap on registered versus non-registered if you wanted to, but I don't think we need to worry about whether or not it's registered, because they're gonna come up with that valuation for us.
Okay.
So, but if there's a number that we wanna put as a maximum, or two numbers, one for registered and one for non, I mean, we don't care whether it's broke or not, or any of those things, that's not part of our valuation.
Yeah.
Right, that's what the appraiser does.
Okay.
That was my thought.
Any numbers out there for horses that you have come across in your research?
They blew up during COVID, I know that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think it just needs to be a number that makes sense for the goals of the board, and
I haven't followed the horse market, so I haven't got.
Well, it's better, I mean. 5,000 too high?
Yeah, I'll make it for dinner.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure we've paid more than 5,000. That's what I was trying to look through.
We're almost to the end. We're not gonna be
Yeah, we
too far.
paid,
over.
we paid 5750 in 2024, and we paid 7,500 also in 24.
And that's like using the appraised value from Bill and Bill.
Absolutely, yeah.
No? But was there a cap on it back then, or not?
I'm drawing a blank
Okay.
on that discussion.
I think one of the issues we have, and I'm gonna say it, and unfortunately, is that there's probably a number of things that the board discussed but never formalized, and some people could think they're formalized, but they're not technically formalized, which is why Leslie's going through this process today. So if you want a cap and she puts in this document, and when it comes back to you and approve it, then we'll have
You gotta vote on.
we'll have a firm administrative record of what the decision was, and, so Leslie's probably not gonna say that, but I'll say that I think there are a number of things that the board in the past has discussed, but never actually formalized as their policy, while they may have assumed that it was formalized, it wasn't.
Okay.
The basis,
Makes sense.
just to add to that, the basis of this document is George's pass down to me on how valuations are performed, and there's no mention of a cap in any of that.
I've never found any mention of
So,
anything in writing
It-
for a cap.
it- Just to substantiate that it may not actually been a motion approved by the board. And
So if you have insurance on an animal, this is to anybody, and it's killed, do they pay you the full value? You buy $1 million racehorse,
I think it's for whatever you insured it for.
whatever you insure it for, okay.
It's gonna be a number that you establish between the two parties, and that's what they pay.
and that determines the cost.
Minus
Just
whatever
that I-
additional compensation you're able to get though, because I know that, I'll say this, as kind of, well, up in your area, you remember we dealt with a, truck incident with a lot of cattle at Wolf Creek a couple years ago. And one of the reasons those cattle stood around on the landscape a lot longer than they should have is because of the insurance company, because the insurance company was trying to salvage value. So they weren't just gonna write a check, it was gonna be whatever they could get out of those animals subtracted from the amount of coverage was what they would pay. So an insurance company, in this case, they would, a lot of insurance companies, if you have an animal insured and you get paid for it by the livestock loss board, the insurance company might not pay anything because they consider that you got your compensation for that animal. I mean, that's how some insurance policies work. But I know in livestock insurance policies, that's one of the things we've run into is sometimes, unfortunately, our belief is that animals should be disposed of, but yet they stand around longer than they should because the insurance company wants to see if they can get them back healthy enough to sell.
I mean, $1 million horse probably has insurance, but a $50,000 roll horse.
Probably does.
I think he does.
They win enough money off of it.
Yeah.
These rodeo guys, they're insured, I guarantee it.
Cause I'm working toward a cap. There should be a cap. I mean, horses are, it would clear blue sky.
Yeah, there's no limit.
And so, I'm sorry, but Brian, you were saying that you cannot find any documentation that there was a true cap.
No, we're gonna look for that documentation. What I'm saying is that the reason I suspect that maybe it wasn't actually an approved board motion is because George didn't put it in the pass down for how to value a horse. He had valuation, how to value a horse through BLS, but no caps.
Right.
Okay, so, let's discuss, what is a grade horse, the highest amount for a grade horse, you guys? What do you like?
For a cap, you're talking.
Mhm.
I don't know, I can't.
We don't use
And
horses.
it's the people's money paying it back, so how
I'd
much
say 5,000.
per grade?
So what's the Billy worth?
500.
Oh, cause he was just saying 7,500 for one in
That's what
2024.
they pay.
This is the one that I,
Right,
Grade Bay Philly.
okay, but Brian said in 2024, it was,
A registered,
Oh,
horse.
that was registered.
I got it right, right?
Yeah,
7,500?
24, yep, 75.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of paper agreements that bring 3,000 to 5,000. That's.
Oh, that's,
You know.
that's trash for 3,000 to 5,000. Honestly,
I know.
my girls don't bring nothing home less than 10. But we still gotta have a cap on
Yeah, there has, yeah.
it. So grade horse, you're saying 5,000, I think that's too high. I go 2,500 for a grade horse
Yeah,
because
I
they're,
threw that out.
It's way more
I'm
than
with
what
Joe there, Doreen. This is Doreen. I'm with Joe on 2,500.
and then maybe double that for, registered.
Okay.
Even if it's valued higher, but
Yeah.
at least we got a cap.
And I mean, it does specify in the statute that that registered is twice the average value for commercial or grade animals. And so it makes sense that you would have it twice the value on your cap.
Right.
But
Unless she spent 10,000, then of course.
The way it goes.
No, I think we need to stick with this, because it's, the people's money that we're giving out.
Yeah.
And we gotta make it last, and what did you tell us earlier, Brian, only 1 out of 2 claims are actually coming into the office for repayment?
I can't remember what you were saying. Leslie had that number. I think it was 80% of the claims
No,
were
there
coming
was
in.
way, I thought it was 50-50.
I missed the question of,
What percentage of the claims that Wildlife Services,
I think it was down to about 25%.
okay,
Because a lot of people are really slow getting their paperwork in. That was part of the issue. Depending on the time of year, you can have a lot sitting out there that people haven't sent in yet. So I think it was down to around 25%, but that's still a big number, especially when you're looking at cattle,
yeah.
you know. So, and most of them were cattle, so.
Yep.
Okay, so right now it's 2,500 and 5,000. That's the
The highest, highest level possible.
170.
And even that might be too much. I don't know. Mr. Honeycutt, you got any opinion on that? Give us some guidance, man.
I would say you said it where you said it, and I'll stand by my earlier statement that anyone that disagrees with it has a right to appeal it and come before this board and make their argument why that valuation doesn't work for them. And if you buy it, you can pay them more. If you don't, you can leave it as it is.
And the board can update this
We can
document.
always,
Yeah,
Right, so if we need to move it, we can absolutely change it if we think that this
and
is
we
wrong.
might do that down by the second one from here.
All right, so horses, are we good on horses? Swine, it's just $300 a head across the board.
Yeah, that was done about 10 years ago, so does anyone have any updates? What's a baby pig worth?
Well, last sow I bought was, she didn't get bred, so that was the meat, and she was 500, and I think I paid like 650 for her.
So what's the meat price for an average pig? Swine.
I don't know, I do 4-H pigs,
Yeah, I
so
was gonna
we
say.
did 250 for our weanlings, and that's all I know.
let's bring a lot of money at the 4-H sale.
Well, why would you not go, I mean, there's pretty good swine USDA figures. Why would you not go with those? Like you do every other.
I can absolutely switch to a market report. I don't know if they have good valuations on piglets, like if a bear gets in and kills a sow and piglets. I mean, I'm just trying to think of scenarios that doesn't fit with.
I would just find a normal, normal swine price. Whether it's a piglet or an old one. I would. And build their cap off that, but that is old stuff there.
So you want to look at looking at the markets and seeing if that needs to be updated? Okay.
Yep.
Take a look at that.
Well, cause on the board today, I know, cause I look at it every day, lean hogs are bringing about $4,500 a hundred, or $45 a hundred.
And what do they weigh, 300?
The prices are high right now, just like cattle prices are high.
I know, but that's what the valuation is too, based on the meat market.
Yes, I mean, it's not $300. I'll tell you, that's really low for what the market is today.
So what was that price
I
again?
think it was $45 a hundred is what, last time I looked at the board, which was this month.
300 pay, well, that'd be
That's all.
50
Yeah.
50 cents would be,
Yeah.
would be $150, so it'd be less than that.
What they were there.
It's gotta be more than $150, right?
Not
Not for a killer?
50 cents a hundred on a 300-pound pig.
Yeah, that's.
Okay, I can do some research on that and see if we can get.
If it needs to be updated,
Need to
I don't know what
update it,
the
yeah.
price is, I just thought it was,
Yeah.
that was quite a while ago.
Oh, excuse me, I may have been off on this, or, so correct if I said something wrong. So, yeah, lean hog futures right now, 85 a hundred, so you're still in your.
That's not, yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, a lot of the stuff that.
Yeah.
255.
Is gonna be. Either pet, like, you know, your backyard communities, I mean, those are scenarios that we run into as well as the 4-H pigs and that kind of stuff too. So I mean, we run the full gamut of scenarios here. Okay, so I'll do a little research on swine and see if that needs to be, guard dogs, same thing, $500 per animal is the rate that we're at.
Miss Blackman, do you have any comments?
Nope.
John,
He says it's too light.
I think it's too low, but
where do you wanna go? I paid $3,000 for a Curly Bear dog.
I
mean, a good dog is
I
worth,
paid $250, but the good ones are priceless.
Mhm.
The ones that actually work.
And I haven't tracked a bear within a half mile of my house all year. And I live on a bear corridor, so I know they work, but I know that that's not gonna, I would apply for the $500, but it's not gonna buy me a new dog.
I was gonna say, I would go to $750, I don't know, I mean. You
I'd
guys
go
might
that
think
or
that's
$1,000.
or $1,000 even.
But I don't know, like those big old dogs you guys use, what are they worth?
They're worth a lot. They're worth more than $1,000 for what they prevent, you know.
And but what can you buy one?
We bought one for $100 last year.
Damn.
He got
You shoot yourself in the foot.
No,
when
but
you-
he got shot. He didn't do a damn thing. I think $750. I don't know, between.
I'm agreeing to whatever they agree.
I'm just telling you what I paid for mine and I like mine
And what you pay for him?
and, she said donate some money for the food bill and she normally gets 500 and I gave her $250.
I mean, I don't think you can go buy a good guard. You can buy lots of guard dogs, but they're not worth brains.
Well, and the thing with guard dogs, I think that's always the argument, is that it takes them till they're in year 2 to really be
Yeah,
totally functional and trustworthy. So it's not the purchase of the pup, it's the
Yeah.
2 years of feeding them.
I mean, I would, I'd say 1,000, but I don't know if you guys think that's too high or not.
So why are we diverting from what it says right here that livestock guard dogs are valued at 500? That's that's what we've got right now. Are we changing that?
We're just wondering if we need to change it.
If that's still feasible.
I kind of think maybe. I think that's not too, I don't know.
There's been some grumpiness from the public.
To the people that have
500
them.
isn't enough.
So I mean, to the people that really rely on them, $500 isn't nearly enough.
And I remember that discussion explicitly in my, I shouldn't say this is being taped, so I won't. But the question came up about, would that figure work with what we do? And we're not the only ones that don't use the big dogs, but the Crillians. And it's a very closed. The breedings on the registered animals, it's very closed. They're very expensive and they really work.
Yeah.
I've had them for 40 years. I would change. I could not live where I do without them, but $500 is not gonna work.
Yeah.
For me, but I'm not the only guy in Montana.
I mean, you look at people like Helly's, people that have a lot of sheep and they really rely on dogs. I know $500.
So I would make a suggestion maybe that everyone can think about it a little bit, and when I bring this document back, we could vote on firming up that number when we kind of approve this final version after I get the updates done to it, if we want to.
And the next meeting is when?
December.
Well, this would be a fine time for you to poll people in Miles City.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
No, that's fine. I know what the answer is.
Okay, but
that's
we have
okay.
a firmer,
I will. Oh, that's what, yeah.
this is,
And lamb prices are quite a bit higher too this year.
I do.
So.
Yeah, December 9th is our next meeting.
Okay.
So
Well, I'll try to get a little.
So-
I know. And the trouble is, one guard dog
is not
is not.
every guard dog, so.
I mean, but it's not, we have 7 guard dogs.
Mhm.
And we still get lambs killed and stuff, no matter what. So.
Yeah, you went in Carillions.
maybe the $100 lamp.
Are you, are they all,
Never left the house.
are they all bears?
Pardon?
Bears or wolves?
Bears and coyotes.
Okay, so the Carillions
Black bears.
will actually do great, but with wolves, I had one get killed this summer by wolves.
Yeah,
And they stand their ground, they're dumb.
yeah.
And two of them got him, stretched him out, tore his throat and his rear end out.
Well, I'll try to get some information for our
Okay,
next meeting.
all right, so we'll finalize that.
Does that
after I
ever
make all the other
deal
changes.
with bull growers?
No,
Just making sure.
I'm pretty sure we checked that.
no, it's, we'll grow it that first week.
Yeah, so we'll go just the week before.
Yeah.
Check them out.
And I never even called wildlife service on that, cause I thought, I spent $3,500 for that dog. I don't care for it, I was actually too sad, but
Yeah.
$500.
We had, I mean, it's hard to put a value on dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Because we got one, we've had 3 dogs get bit by snakes this summer.
Ouch.
I mean, and this one dog, he got bit right in the nose. And his jowls just swelled up like that. And he stayed with those sheep. He never left those sheep. We go out and feed him every day, and he was there with those sheep. He never did quit those sheep, even though his face was so swelled up.
Mm,
He couldn't even. So, how do you put a price on that?
absolutely.
I don't know.
I don't know, this is the same person when the people took our guard dog out
Oh.
of sheep. And she was found an immigrant.
Yeah, I can do that here. I can put that.
Oh, did he? Yeah, and we drove to Livingston and got her. Lost a whole day's worth of work over the deal.
It's a different deal now, cause the guy that used to sell the dogs, Marv Dunster,
Yeah.
he's not around anymore, and then some
Hmm.
other people bought his business. And they didn't do, so you don't have, you could get dogs from him for $500. But that was like a puppy factory with him,
Yeah.
he had hundreds of dogs, but now it's a little tougher to find them.
Mm.
So, I don't know. I'll check around.
I'd go with whatever.
The people that really rely on them say $500 isn't enough, and the people that don't care say
Yeah.
it's too much, so. I don't know.
I wouldn't argue with whatever figure you can.
Well, I'm not gonna come with some absorbing $5,000 figure.
No, I wouldn't come up with that, but
No,
750 or 1,000, I don't know the market, but I'd be open to this.
yeah, I'll talk to people that sell them and people that use them. I know, enough people.
Okay, and then last 2 items, llama, I think we've only had a couple. And George had in his notes that they've always been purchased recently, the ones that have been killed, and so they've just kind of used the purchase price for those. That's the one exception that, I don't think they happen very often, but that's with existing practice on those.
Yeah, there is really
The
a lot.
last I saw, it pays, went through the ring and it was like $300.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
$300?
Now we're back to that $500 dog.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if there's a better way to do that, or if we just kind of leave it alone until it becomes an issue, since they are pretty rare at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
So, once we.
So what do they do with an old llama?
It just dies out there on the
There's
prairie.
there's no meat market for them, right?
No,
You don't eat them?
no. They literally, the last 3 we've had died.
Mhm.
They got to live out their lives.
Mhm.
And died of ripe old ages.
So when like the recent person, you have paid out a couple claims?
No,
Or you haven't paid
I
any
have
out?
never done it. George has only had a couple, I think, in history, and they've all been purchased animals, and so he just
Oh,
used.
like how much were they? Any
I'd
idea?
have to go and
Oh,
look.
okay.
I'm sure your packers are pricey.
Well, let's put a cap on it. If you think $300 is good, let's put a $300 cap on it.
That's what I saw through Pace.
All right. I'd like to see it set. I don't wanna pay double that if that's all they're worth.
Just do you want a cap or just a standard rate?
No, cap.
Just a cap.
If they paid less than that, we'll pay them less.
Okay.
If they paid more than that, we'll pay up to the cap.
Are you looking at pages trying to find the woman?
No, I'm not actually. Unfortunately, I've turned my attention to another issue I'm trying to catch up on. Sorry.
It's Facebook.
Boy,
And I can look and see what the previous claims have been on.
That would be,
Yeah.
I'm way behind on a Teams conversation that I'm trying to catch up before 4 o'clock. So I'm sorry.
it's okay.
Okay, last one on the list is bison. We've never had a claim for bison. But the assumption is that we would use a compilation that's put together by the National Bison Association. I haven't been able to find a more recent one than the 23-24 version, I think it was, but it's just, it's similar to the market reports for cattle, and you just find us a comparable.
and
sale.
it is meat price or slaughter price.
These are typically breeding animals, because these are bison sales that happen all over the country, and they compile those results. Most of them are breeding animals that they're selling at those.
Case, but I think for any predation animals, we need to pay meat price.
Yeah, commercial.
Salvage price.
So you're saying if a 700-pound bull gets killed, she goes to USDA market report 700-pound beef and.
No, not beef.
No bison.
No, I know we're talking bison, but
There
meat
should-
price.
there should be
Yeah,
enough.
700-pound bison, either USDA or the National Bison Association, whoever's listing that market price for those slaughter animals or feeder animals, but not breeding animals.
You have a point. It should be meat if everything else is meat.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Unless it
But
was a
not
registry,
breeding.
do they have a registry? But I suppose Buffalo has a registry, don't
I
they?
don't know.
No.
I know they have DNA stuff that they do, because there's a lot of cattle blood and.
Yes.
I know that, but and so they might have something like a registry associated with how pure their blood is, but I don't know anything beyond that. So you don't want me to use the National Bison Association compilation?
Not for breeding animals.
You can
Well, it's
find,
just I mean, I don't know if they're actually breeding animals, it's just bison sales that have happened. But if they're selling cows, I don't know if they're going to slaughter or they're for replacement. I guess I don't know what their purpose is when they sell those.
Yep, so I'm just making the comment that it should be market price for slaughter animals.
Okay.
Whether it's from the National Bison Association or the USDA, I do know the USDA does have some bison meat prices.
They do, yeah.
okay.
Okay,
That's pretty good.
that is the end of my list.
Is that all you want from us today, girl?
We're only
Bison prices.
22 minutes back.
Okay.
Pretty good.
Anybody listening in or anybody got any public comment? Or we adjourn? Anybody on there?
Outside of Tina,
She just jumped off.
I think she just jumped off.
Remember with us.
Oh. Take care.
Nope, there's no public on
Okay,
anymore.
okay, I guess if there's nothing else, we'll adjourn. Or do we need a motion to adjourn, don't we?
I make that motion. Raina makes that motion.
Doreen seconds it.
The movement and second, and we adjourn. All those in favor, think about saying aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Okay, now we're adjourned.
Nice.
Bye, everybody.
You hit the nail on
Bye.
the head.
See you every day.